All right, let's go to question 4. Okay. So we're talking about incomes of past students. We have 50 attendees. Okay. Part A, what would be an advantage of using the median rather than the mean? Typical income. Okay, so I know why the mean is better. The median is better. The median is resistant to outliers. So it can be a better measure of what we call central tendency. For the data. Then the mean. And now let's talk about, usually this seems like it might be enough, but you do want to include more. You want to have more context. Now, why might the mean be skewed? So, I guess I'll say income can vary widely having high or low incomes. I guess I'll say very high or very low, because that would indicate an outlier. Would shift mean, making it unreliable. Okay, so that's the whole idea, is that median is resistant to outliers because the median is always in the middle of the data set. So whether you have someone who makes a lot of money at the top or a moderate amount at the top, still the middle value's in the middle. So median is resistant to outliers. And you might just want to mention, again, a second statement there that, just why the mean is not good or why the median could be better. That's because, again, incomes can vary widely. If someone makes a lot of money, then they're going to affect the result. If someone is right now unemployed, they're going to affect the result. So you could expand in more detail on that if you wanted to, but we'll move on to part B for the sake of time. Okay. So we have 2 sampling methods. Email everyone, and you'll probably get 600. Or just do a simple random sample and make sure you obtain all the responses of this simple random sample. There's only 100. Okay, which one would we do? So I know which one I would do. It can be kind of misleading, but I would do method 2. Now you might choose method 1 because you see the fact that they're sampling everyone and they're getting 600 responses, but there's a bigger problem there. So I would say method 1 suffers from, I'll say, voluntary response bias. In other words, it's a survey, it's a poll. You can respond or you don't respond, and it's up to you. And how could that skew the results? People who may feel inclined to respond to show off. And what would that do? Well, if that was happening, the data would be skewed. And report, hello. Imagine that says report. An overall higher average income than the true average income. Okay, so that's why sample method 1 is bad. Again, voluntary response. Now, if you're gonna, the big key is if you're gonna say that there's bias in a problem, state how the bias is going to affect the results. So my guess is that if you're unemployed and you see that email, you're not gonna want to say that you're unemployed. Now, method 2, why does that work? Why is it better? I'll say because method 2 uses an SRS and follows up to ensure the members in the, or I guess you see the alumni in the SRS are represented in the data. We'll have a less biased result due to the random nature of sampling. So random sampling is always better. And one thing you might also want to include is that even though 600 get sampled in method 1, a biased sample, no matter how many you sample, is still biased. So important thing to note there. So let's look at the scoring guideline and see how we did. Question 4. Okay, medians less affected by outliers. So a small number of very large incomes could increase the median, but not the median. Okay, so I think I pretty much hit on that. So we talked about the median is resistant to outliers, and we talked about the fact that income can vary widely. Having high incomes would shift the mean, making it unreliable. So I think we hit on that. We'll see. Method 2 is better than method 1. Okay, we have voluntary response again. It's a survey, that's voluntary. Method 2, smaller sample size, random selection will be more representative. Even though it's smaller, it will be unbiased. Okay, so I think we hit on everything. Let's double check. So skewness affects the mean, but not the median. So we hit on that. So makes a conjecture about the relevant characteristics of incomes, such as skewness or an outlier. So in other words, if you're going to say that the median could be better, state why it could be better. State why the mean might fail. And so we did that. Okay. For part 2, relevant characteristic of method 1, what that means is, do we suffer, or make note that method 1 is voluntary, so that's bad. And did we also mention why method 2 is good? So I think we did both of that, so we're good to go. Awesome.